Hi guys, welcome to Creative Nomad Studios and to Color Theory Part 2. So we are going to live stream this afternoon a little bit about color theory. There is a part 1 to this video, so if you haven't seen it, it's good to go check it out. And it's good to go check it out. Sorry, we had a little volume happen here in studio, so that's okay.
I love that.
I love it when things happen unexpectedly. Part one of this video is on our Creative Nomad Studios YouTube channel. If you haven't seen it, I am going to very, very briefly chat about what we did cover in that video. As a side note, if you're watching and joining us live, there is a live chat. The live chat will show up somewhere to the right of me.
Other right.
Other right.
Not your right, their right.
I always do that wrong.
Ronnie Lee
Anyways.
and Donna are already saying hello.
Oh, they're already saying hello, hello, Ronnie Lee, and hello, Dawn. I love that you ladies show up for every video we put on because it's just a fun way to spend the day. And if you love to create, then these are just wonderful things to do. Anyways, please throw down a comment, say hello, tell us you're here. If you have questions throughout the day, we have Steph monitoring our live feed today and watching for any problems or issues that you have, as well as any questions that you have along the way. We also have Ethan here, and this is his second live stream ever. Ethan is in training, and he's knocking it out of the park so far, so that's a really good thing. Anyways, so that is that. We also have a little puppy in studio today, so just letting you know if you hear this a little bark here or there. We are in a co-work space. We're in a shared workspace, and sometimes he likes to go say hello to other people. He's currently sleeping, but he's hanging out right now and having a little nap. So that's all the housekeeping stuff out of the way, and I'm just going to say, for those of you who are joining us to participate, in the description below there is a link to a Google Doc called a Color Theory for Artists, and that document is a descriptive document of all of the terms, all of the things that we cover in both part 1 and part 2, as well as at the back of the document there are the templates that we use for our color theory class. And part 1 is the color wheel. This template is there, as well as the hue and saturation template, as well as the tint and shade template, and as well as a page that has your terms. And that one's meant to actually be cut out in a circle so that you can use it in relationship to your color wheel. Last week we actually went through the basics of color, and that is our primary colors, our colors that have no, they can't be made from other colors. They're one source colors. So we have yellow, we have blue, we have red, and then we have our secondary colors, which are the colors that can be made from our primaries, and then tertiary, which is a combination of a secondary and a primary. And we created this color wheel of what are just really 12 basic colors. So what we're going to do now that we know how to make those 12 basic colors, if you don't already, please go back and review part 1. We did this color wheel. Throughout that class as well, I was having you put your colors in the squares on the hue and saturation chart, as well as the tint and shade, which of course I realized at the end of it was in the wrong spot. I've now corrected mine, and I have a correct one here. So today we're actually going to take these 12 colors. We're going to talk about tint and shade. We're going to talk about hue and saturation. We're going to talk about what happens when, how we desaturate colors, how we're going to mix colors. So if you have a struggle with a color, if you have a struggle mixing certain colors, definitely throw that down. We are going to talk a little bit more in depth about color bias. We really, really briefly talked about that in part 1 because it was important to our primaries, but we are going to talk about color bias a little bit more. So we're going to just jump right in and talk about, basically our variety of things. So when we talk about hue, right, we're talking about what is color. Color is hue. Hue is a name. Color is a name. There you go. So red is hue. Um, um, cadmium red is a color that is a red hue. There's red hues, yellow hues. So basically, hue means color. That's essentially what that means. I'm gonna kind of follow along to my own things. So when we talk about that, we have on our hue and saturation chart, which is really, we're going to build both these charts at the same time. We're going to talk about them separately first. We have our 12 colors in here. You'll be able to put those in. I have them pre-mixed in here, but you will be able to put those in as we move along. And we're going to actually look at hue and saturation in relationship to black and white. So if you have some black, whoa, sorry, this black is, these guys changed their bottle structure, and I just put way too much black on my palette right now, which is really sad.
That's the Liquitex.
That's the Liquitex, and to the Liquitex manufacturers, I love your paint. Okay, I really do, but they changed their lid.
Yeah.
Okay.
We don't love your lid,
and
Liquitex.
We don't love your new lids because, and I'm going to try and find it in here. See what they've done? They've actually, it's a tip, and it blocks up, and it gets gooped up, and then I actually have cleaned this out already. I spent 5 minutes cleaning this out before we went on air, and it still came out in a goopy mess. And I now have goopy black paint all over me. So, anyways, I'm going to say get a little bit of black and a little bit of white. And I'm going to take this and I'm just going to mix with my brush. And I'm actually going to mix it to a 50-50. Okay? So we're just going to start by getting it to a 50-50. All right? And the reason we're going to get to 50-50 is it's going to actually tell us where to, what our halfway point looks like. If you try to build to a halfway, I don't know about you, you ever try to make something gradient stuff and guess what halfway might be?
Yeah.
or I don't know, I kind of liken it to... I liken it to writing words across a palette, and you start at a certain size, you get to the end, and you're writing your letters smaller and smaller.
We've all done that.
Same deal.
It's great when you're at a mural. You do that.
Exactly. So we're gonna use in our when we look at saturation, we're gonna look at something being 100% of color here and 100% of color here. When I equally put them together, they're a neutral. They're completely neutral. So 100% of this on this end is white. Okay, so I'm just going to throw some white down here. And when I go to the other end, 100% on the other side is black. And I'm trying not to make this too wet. And if I actually mix them equally, I end up with an absolute neutral there. So that theory is what we're looking at when we're looking at what we're going to do here, which is desaturate our colors. And the reason you need to know this is if you want to darken a color, if you want to lighten a color, you want to have this. I'm going to mix a little bit more at my 50% color, get it to the same color again. a little bit more
We
white.
touched on this a little bit last week with darkening yellow. That was a question that came in from Ronnie Lee, I believe.
Yes, darkening yellow, you know.
So we're going to see that really happening here today.
We're going to see that. So now that I've got it halfway, I always find that the easiest way to go start is to actually add a little bit of white, a little bit more white. And I'm going to make this a little bit lighter. So something that leans a little bit more towards the white side. And I'm just going to add it into here. So now I've added a little bit more. Now I'm going to take a little bit more white, a little bit more, and I'm going to add that into here. So we're building something that is an example of the change that we're going to make with color, only we're doing it without color. All right, so, and I'm just going to add a little bit more here. This is not an exact science, what we're doing here, at all. You know, I'm making it build. Okay, so now I'm going to take it, that same color that I have over here, that 50-50 color, and I'm going to add a little bit more black to it. Add a little bit more. So it's going to be a little bit darker than, not much darker. There we go. A little bit darker. And a little bit more black to it. This is like making me crazy. Do you hear that banging? my thing is a little bit wobbly. So what I'm doing up at the top, and the reason I'm doing this with the black and white, is that when we actually go to using real colors, you can actually use this as a bit of a reference to say, okay, so it was this depth, and this depth, you know. So if I'm building this as I go along, you know, you could do it with no spaces. You could just, you know, you're almost building a gradient. And the purpose is now to see that this value is 100% and this value is 100% and equal in the middle. So if we go back to the color wheel that we created last week and we say, go back to what our, there's the color wheel we created last week, and we are going in the number 1 spot over here, I have yellow. In the number 7 spot over here, I have a secondary color. So the complementary color is the color that we're going to use to desaturate. In your package, there is a printout with this on it that will show you how to find your triadic color scheme, your analogous colors, and your complementary colors. And so if you want to just, you can cut it out, you can hold it over your color wheel, you can start to make, instead of 12 colors, you could actually make this way more complex. This is a pretty simple one, but it gives you the idea. So we're going to say, when we're looking at desaturating our colors, we're going to take our secondary color and our primary color, and those are our complementary colors. So in order to do this first row, which apparently, you know, my paint was still wet, go figure, I'm actually going to put all 3 colors on my color wheel because a primary color yellow is required, and also I need to make a secondary color. So I'm going to add a little bit of my blue, and I'm going to add a little bit of my red. Now, we talked about color bias a little bit last week, so if you watch that, you'll know that, your primary colors are leaning one way versus the other way. Are they leaning more to, is your blue leaning more towards yellow or more towards red? Is your red leaning more towards yellow, or is it leaning more towards green? That matters when you're mixing colors. Okay, so we're going to get a good secondary color going. So we're going to mix this a little bit of secondary color, and we're going to keep our yellow pure. So I've got a little bit of red going on here. Going to mix some of that up. And I'm going to pull out a little bit of blue. Going to mix some of that up. I can. Is that better? All right. Thank you, Ethan. All right. And I clearly am doing the wrong thing right now because I'm not sure if you can see this. Can you see this color stuff? You see that color? Oh, yeah. It's kind of muddy. Oh, it's leveling out right now. So one of my colors right now is a little bit off. So this has color bias. So you can see it's kind of, it's very red. This light's not helping me. I have a light. Okay, so I'm going to actually just scoop this out, get rid of that, and use a different red. I think this is a different red than I actually used last week. This is a CAD. A CAD is usually a fairly good red to use, but I'm thinking that I have a museum ultramarine blue, and it's not liking it. So you can see my issue that I'm having right now is how brown this purple is. This purple should not be brown at all. And we get brown because we have right now something that's leaning in towards the yellow. So what I'm getting right here is I'm getting a mix of all of my primary colors, which is making that purple not really pretty and beautiful. So you know what I've done, Steph, though?
Well,
I'm going to need a hand.
Did you pick the wrong paint?
I need my primary magenta that's downstairs. It's on a different floor.
Huh.
I think she's going for a run. So that's really
I'm
great.
running
so while
down the
she's going
stairs.
for a run, and
It's only a 10,000 square foot studio.
Quietly praise her for doing that for me. We'll talk a little bit about color bias, because that is it's truly an issue. When I made this color chart, for example, I actually used a CAD red, and the CAD red is usually really, really good. But I also used a cobalt blue. So the CAD red and the cobalt blue were really fine together. What I ended up with here, however, is the museum is an ultramarine blue. And the CAD red doesn't really love that. So the combination of those two, I'm ending up with some yellow in one of them, and I'm imagining that it is probably the blue.
I don't remember you using that last week.
I did. I used the ultramarine blue, but I used this primary magenta, and this primary magenta is a bit on the blue side. It has no yellow in it whatsoever.
Yeah,
right?
It's a very cool.
So it's a real. So it's not having that effect. So now I'm going to go back in, take a little bit of this out, and I think we're going to have a better effect. And I'm going to actually mix this on the palette. And you're going to see, we make mistakes as we move. We're live. We're just going with it. And you can't adjust for that if your primaries, if what you're trying to do is mix if I'm trying to mix a purple and my blue and my red have a yellow in it, I can't adjust for that. All I'm going to get Look at that. Isn't that so much nicer? Look at how much prettier that is. So here, there is the difference. See how brown that is? And that's the difference. We really don't want that, especially not when what we're trying to build is a chart. It shows us our colors. Because what you're doing is you're already desaturating your colors. So I'm going to take a little bit more blue and a little bit more red. And I'm just going to mix those up there. All right. So, and I'm going to get to my nice, pretty, purpley color, which is this color here. Okay. So, if I have this, and I'm not going to do this whole chart all the way down. I'm going to teach you theoretically how to get there, and you're going to continue to do it on your own. And I'm going to do a couple lines of it because it really is very effective. It's an effective way to build a chart so that when you're painting, you understand. I'm going to take a little bit of yellow, and I'm going to mix it into here. And I'm going to get myself a 50% mix. What's going on there, Ethan? Uh-oh. Uh-oh.
Oh, yes, it has.
Uh-oh.
I'm looking at your chart and getting so excited because I'm such a chart nerd, and I didn't see it either.
Oh. Well, you know what? How about if we plug it in? So you know what we need to do is run downstairs in my backpack and get a block out of the side pocket.
Okay.
Okay. So
I guess I'll just run downstairs again.
We have a low battery going on. So we have all kinds of things happening in studio today, which, you know, I mean, I'm just going to tell Ethan that we did this on purpose just to, because his job is to actually troubleshoot the whole time. So do we have this camera though? Yeah. Okay, good. So you know what? You can't see my face. I'm frozen, but okay. What's that? Oh, okay, good. All right. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to actually get this 50%. All right. And when I get this to that nice 50% spot, right, where I've got 50-50. So I've got my two colors that are 50-50. And it should be, you guessed it, a lovely shade of brown, which actually I'm going to show you in that one we did earlier. So I'm going to get that in here, right? There's my brown. There's my, it's brownish, brownish. Okay. All right. So that's actually my fault that we had that little camera freeze because I forgot to plug that one in. You shouldn't rely on battery power. So now that I've got this,
sorry,
what I've done is I've taken this yellow and I've taken this violet and I've completely desaturated both of them to get to that brown point. Okay? So if I take that middle color, and now I start adding a little bit of yellow to it, a little bit more yellow, right?
You're back, Anita.
Am I back? It's so exciting. It's so exciting to be back. All right. So I'm going to actually now fill this color in. And you can see that that's kind of a, you know, I don't know, what color would you call that? It's like a...
Oh, it's beautiful. It's like a sienna.
It's like a sienna.
Burnt sienna. It's so gorgeous.
It's very pretty. I'm going to make it a little more, add a little more yellow. Right? Yeah, a little more. A little more. This kind of starts to get to be like a yellow ochre. Right? What ends up happening there. And then I'm going to add a little more. And it has just that really lovely, oops, I had too much crap on my brush there. take it off of here. It ends up being this kind of lovely, like a golden yellow.
I love those colors so
Oh,
much.
I love that color. I love how deep that is, you know. So then if I want to start going the other way, but you can see what happens here is as we start to build this chart around, we get a couple of rows of it. When you're trying to make a color, you'll be able to actually do this. And think about this. We're doing this with 12 colors. If you actually make your color wheel more complex, so let's say instead of just going primary, secondary, tertiary, if I actually split this up, right, and I made it even more gradual, and now I broke this color wheel into 24, and then I built this across, and I said, what does my color wheel look like? I've lost my little round guy. Sorry, what, you know, you can just take that little, oh, hang on a second. Did you see where I put that?
No.
All right.
Strange.
Okay, so this that I had cut out, did I not just have it in my hands? Okay, so this thing I had cut out, you can take your line across, or you can take a ruler anytime you do a complex color wheel, and you can just figure out what's directly across it. And you're saying, that's the color I'm needing. And you can build this really lovely complex color system that you can use as an artist. So I'm going to go back in here and I'm going to get myself to about a 50-50 in here and kind of get to that lovely browny color. So I'm there so that now I can just pick up a little more purple to it. All right, I'm going to pick a little more purple to it, and I'm going to just fill it in here. So this is why we're not going to do the whole, I'm going to get some more red, no more blue, no more red, add a little more to this, and it's a little more to the purple now. All right, and add a little bit more of that purple color, and I'm going to get to here. So when we talk about desaturating a color, that's exactly what we're doing. We've started with 100% of whatever color we're starting with here, and we've gone to there. And all we've done is take variations of those two colors. So again, 100% and 100%. So if you have any questions about that, you know, definitely, you know, drop that down in there. I'm going to mix one more color and one more row, and we might as well just go to a little bit of the next row down. Or is there a row you'd like to see? Is there a row you'd like to see? Actually, you know, I think somebody had commented that they had trouble with greens. Mm-hmm. So I know what I'm going to do. I am going to go way down here. I'm going to go way down here, and we're going to go to row 5 to 11. That's where we're going to go. So if we go 5 to 11, okay, and that means that 5, whoops, wrong color chart. Oh, I found my thing. Okay, number 5, all right, is our solid red. And number 11 is our secondary color of green. So that's our equal parts blue and yellow. So if you've done section 1 with me or class 1 with me, you would have gotten to that. And I'm going to just get a little bit of blue in here. And I'm going to get a little bit of magenta in here. And we are going to go 5 to 11. So how many of you actually downloaded the color workbook. I know somebody messaged me today and said, oh, I just downloaded it today. They did class 1 already, which is great. It's fine. So I'm going to get my blue and my yellow together here and get like a nice mix of green going on first. Okay. And like get a nice green going on.
Lori's saying green is a biggie.
Green
Always
is a
need
big
green
one.
when doing landscapes.
Green is a biggie. So then you will want to make sure that you do 12, 11, and 10, because when you get from here to here, here to here, and here to here, that's going to give you all your shades and variations of green, which are really spectacular. So I've got my 50-50 mix going on here, trying to make sure it's not too blue. It's still a little bit too blue. There you go. And I've been mixing color for quite a while, so I have a fairly decent sense of these things. Just gonna, sorry, 5 to 11. Here we go. So, oops. Got my green, and now I'm gonna take my red and get in here. All right, we're gonna desaturate this right down. Okay, and we're going to get this to equal parts. And this ends up being this really lovely, like, almost like a, I'm trying to think about what brown this is. It's not a Van Dyke. It's not a, it's, I love this color of brown. It's like so, okay, there you go. So I've got this, it's a nice deep brown. See that? Just love that. So we've got this lovely brown going on there. All right. So I can take that brown that I've got, okay, and add a little bit more red to it. So I'm just going to kind of bring it a little bit more towards the red. Okay. And we're just going to fill that in. And it ends up being, this is kind of where your burgundy family lives. In here. It's one of the places that your burgundy family lives. Your wine colors, your merlots, and your, you know, all that. All those colors tend to be deep and rich and actually really love this family in here.
Donna's saying you work so fast she doesn't even have her first row done. She can't mix as fast as you.
Well, you know, this is why we actually have these videos and we do them for free. And they're there, and you don't, and I'm just gonna, I want you to get the concept. I want you to understand what it is you're doing, you know. So basically, you know, isn't this a beautiful color? Look at this color stuff.
That's gorgeous.
Oh.
So Donna, you'll be able to watch this as many times as you need to.
That's
you
right.
Can pause it. You can get caught up.
And I'm not gonna do the whole chart. Yeah, you'll be able to do the. Oops, my brush fell apart. This is just a cheap brush that I don't feel bad mixing with. I know. This is like one of those, like, so I'm just going to get my green going on here. My lovely equal green. Okay. All right. And, ugh. Sorry. Because now that I have some more green, I can actually get an equal amount going back on here again with my red, because I ran out of color, and I can get my that lovely dark brown, that mix that I had going on there. It's just like, this looks like, doesn't it look like, I don't know, it looks like chocolate to me. So now I'm going to take that, I'm going to add a little bit more green to it. So this right here is where you're going to get your, you're going to find your family of barks, waters, not certain parts of water. I use these colors sometimes when I'm doing certain waters. I'm going to just add a little bit more green. Because this is being deadened with pure red, right? I find that it gets desaturated very quickly, where your other ones, when you're on this row where it leans more to the blue, or this row where it leans more to the yellow, they don't desaturate as quickly. Sorry, I'm just gonna get that. And just gonna pick some more of this up. Actually, I think I have enough on my brush now that it's making this green over here kind of that color. And you can see that this becomes, this is a really lovely sort of level of green in here. I always find that just one or two off of whatever color I'm starting from is usually where I want to get to, unless the family I'm trying to get to is brown, because your browns are going to sort of ride all in the whole middle. So is there anybody who is not sure about that sort of how we're desaturating colors? If you're not sure, let me know. I will actually, just for the heck of it, go to this green, this yellow side of this more, this tertiary color, and where we're going to a, what is 12? So 12 is that's a tertiary color. So we're right here. So if we go 12, so what we're doing is 2 tertiary colors, which is, it's really your 3 primary colors, but leaning towards yellow and leaning more towards red. That's where we're going. This is where you're going to actually get some really magical colors. So we're going to mix a green that is more towards yellow. Okay, so we're going to start there. We're going to get that. And that's going to be our place where we start. All right, and that's at this 12 level. Okay, this might actually be a little bit more, but I love this sort of a U green that's happening there. Okay, and then what we're going to do is we're going to go to the other side, and we're going to mix something in here. That's our red. Okay, but our red that's kind of been cooled down a little bit, right? Just cooled down just a tiny bit, and is that sort of purpley color. Now, if I take 50% of that, and I take 50% of this, right? Which means I should be essentially desaturating them right down. Should I slide that up again? I can. So what I end up getting is this kind of light brown-ish color. See that? This is a family that I like, but do you see what happens here? Isn't that pretty? So if I am halfway there, so I'm going to now take that and add a little bit more of this U color to it. There you go, a little bit more. Okay, but this is where things start to get pretty magical as we move up. And I'm just going to add a little bit more. And my brush is really full of paint right now, which is not helping my cause. Okay, and I'm just going to take a tiny little bit and go this way. And you can see that this is where you start to get those real variations of, you know, color. This is kind of yeah, it's like a reddy brown, you know. What would you call that? What you call that stuff?
It's like it's kind of showing a bit chartreuse through the screen here. I'm looking at your sheet now. I'm caught up to where you just did that last color, and it's cut off a little bit on the right.
Ah, there you go. Better?
I'm on the delay, so I'm waiting for my
is that better,
screen
Ethan?
to catch up.
Okay. All right. I'm being told that I'm going off camera here. Sorry about that. So now we're going to start heading the other way. Okay. So we're going to take this kind of like lovely purpley blue color, and we're going to start using our desaturated color into that. Okay. And we're going to go back this way. All right. This, and we're going to add a little bit more here. And as we move up the scale, and these can be some really pretty tones. And you can make, I mean, I'm only going, seriously, I'm only using 4 variations in between. You can do an entire row. You can do a little dab, add a little bit more, a little bit more, a little bit more, a little bit more, and create these really massive gradual charts so that if you're going to paint something, you can go, oh, I'm looking for this color here. I'm looking for that color there. And at least you know where to start. You know, I'm looking for something that is that. Okay, so you know you're starting with, you know, or you're going this is basically 2 tertiary colors. So you're knowing where things are leaning, right? Which side of things they're leaning. And that's why we build these charts. And that's how you as an artist are going to be able to master mixing color a lot easier. So we're going to then jump to tint and shade. And we're going to go right back to do the rest of this on your own. If you have any questions, definitely reach out. You know, we're here, info@creativenomadstudios.ca. But the theory is the same, okay, on all of those. Tint and shade. So this is going to go switching some palettes around here and pick up my black and my white again. None of that is... We're going to go back to the top. And what we did on the tint and shade, okay, is what we're going to do here, okay? So we're going to get a mixture of 50-50. All right. And we're going to get a halfway point here. And the halfway point really representing that, you know, the no black nor white. So what is a tint? A tint is a color plus white, and what is a shade is a color plus black. So if I'm now got this and I add a little bit more black, a little bit, and I'm just going to fill this in here. All right, then I'm going to add a little bit more black. And then I'm going to add a little bit more black. And we're going to do the same thing with our color on the rows below. And therefore, we're going to build a tint and shade chart. Now, can you imagine what would happen if not only did you build a tint and shade chart, but now you build a tint and shade chart for every one of these colors? Magical, right, Steph? Steph's going, ooh, color charts.
Yay.
Make color charts. You know, this is just a really good practice. Start with your 12 basic, right? And then if there's a family, and then at the very end here, I'm going to use, more black. I'm going to make this the most black, right? All right. And so now I'm going to go the other way. All right. And I'm going to go back in here, and I'm going to add some white. There we go. Add some white. And then we're going, and just the top is for no other reason than for you to keep it remembering that, yes, this is just more white, more white, more white, more black, more black, more black. That's all this is for up here. Okay. And apparently I'm out of white.
Do you like making these color charts and doing things like this? Yeah.
I love it. You know, when I was working for a guy named Walter, and I was doing historical mural restorations for the Toronto Historical Foundation. And so I don't know if you've ever seen those old murals at all the old historical buildings in Toronto. Okay. So, and my very end here, I'm going to talk and paint at the same time, is white. So those get cracks in them, and they have to be repaired, but they're hundreds of years old. So we would go in, and we'd photograph them all, and we would then a plaster guy would come in and repair it, and we'd take our photographs and then first have to, you know, you're painting in someone else's style all the time, but you're color mixing, but you're color mixing colors that have faded. So you're desaturating colors, you're mixing and then desaturating it to get it to a place, and then you're testing. So I did all of this then, right? Like over and over and over and over, and built a whole color book because I needed to know this color, and am I desaturating it, or is it a tint of it, or is it a shade of it, or what is it, right? How much chroma is there? So when we talk about chroma, there is actually in this printout that on the page where we talked about saturation, if you pull up this page, and I'm not sure what page it is, where we've actually talked about, there's a chart in here where you go, you know, chroma is, you know, what's your depth of color, you know, how saturated is your color, and then where is it on the tint scale. So now you can think of a sliding scale where this can just go this way and that way. This is color, by the way, in your book. This is printed black and white here. And then you can think about your color just going up and down either on your value scale or on your chroma scale. Different words, same general meaning, but those are things that you definitely want to get in touch with, you know. So when we, I'm just going to use, you know what, maybe I'm going to use yellow. We'll start with yellow because the theory is going to be the same all the way along. Start getting your questions. I'm not going to go through this whole, do all of these charts here because it's not required. It's basically once you know how to mix your 12 colors, then you're just mixing variations of them. So what I'm going to do here with my yellow is I'm actually just going to split it in half. Okay? And I always find that, you know, it's, I'm going to start by going, adding a little bit of white to it, okay? Just a little bit, not a lot. And I always find it's easier to lighten a color, to start by lightening. I don't know why, I always like to add the light value first. So I'm going to add this, and I'm just going to start building that value down. I'm going to add, just add a little more. I'm going to start tinting this down. And tinting it down. So when somebody says to you, what shade of color is that? Oh, what shade of red is that? Correct them. It's not a shade of red.
You did
it could be a shade of red.
Do you know you did it earlier today?
I did.
I was going to correct you, and I thought, she probably hurt herself.
You know what? Because we do this, right? We do, but it's not correct, right?
No, it's just a funny thing. We'll say something, and we know it's not correct. And
I know, and I've laughed because I laugh at some color names, and I've said this to you before. Okay. Cadmium red hue. This is a Winsor & Newton. Cadmium red hue. Cadmium color. Cadmium color. It's like saying cadmium, which is kind of another version of red. it's like I don't know. I mean, I get it, but it just isn't correct. It's just not correct. So I'm going to add some more white to this. I'm going to try and make this a really, really, really pale yellow. I ran out of white. So I'm going to make this one down at the end really, really pale. So again, you can build your tint chart. Okay. You can build it by using, a more of a gradual mix. I have from a really, really pale yellow to full color in 5 steps. Build yours in 10. Build yours in 15. Build yours in whatever you want, right? So now I'm going to just start with that same yellow, and I'm going to start adding black. Now, here is what happens. What happens when everyone wants to darken yellow? What do they want to add, Steph?
Black. What are we going to get?
What color are we going to get, Steph?
Some kind of green, I think.
So let's add. Color are we going to get, Ethan? Ethan's not an artist. I'm going to ask him. You think black can take over? I'm going to add the tiniest little bit of black. The tiniest little bit of black. Colors it look like to you? Pretty green. I know. So, and I want you to know why this is really important, right? Why is this really important? Because when somebody says, how do I make a darker yellow? This is how you make a darker yellow. This is how you make a darker yellow. With little tiny bits of your complementary color. This is how you make green. I mean, it's a shade of yellow, surprisingly.
Shade of yellow.
It's a shade of yellow. Green is a shade of yellow. This green is a shade of real. It's also a hue of green. In the hue of green.
Oh, too much.
Oh, is that horrible or what?
It is actually a shade of yellow, though.
It is a shade of yellow. Yes. Okay. So now what we're going to do is we're going to add a little more black, and we're going to make this a darker shade of yellow.
Who knew it was so complicated?
Which is actually, and for those of you out there who struggle with greens, this is the lesson you need to know. I mean, this is a beautiful shade of yellow. Green.
It's a lovely hue of green and a beautiful shade of yellow.
It's a lovely shade of yellow. Ethan's losing his mind over there going, what did I get myself into? So we're going to make this a little darker. All right.
So pretty.
I love this green or shade of yellow. I mean, seriously. All right. It's getting darker. Oh, maybe I make it darker than that. We want to get, because I didn't give myself enough. I only gave myself 4 things, so I can make this a little darker here. So now I've got this really olivey color, right? And now I'm going to make it even darker to get all the way back here. So there you go. So, interesting. Okay, so what's another line you'd like to see, Steph? What do you think?
Let's see what happens with the magenta.
See what happens with the magenta? Mm-hmm. All right. Okay.
Because I think you're going to get some pretty Steph colors.
Am I going to get Steph colors?
I think so.
All right. So, So you want me to go 5, row 5?
Row 5.
Or 5, or am I going 6? Now let's go 5 because it's more. Let's stick with primaries. This is the primary magenta.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so we're gonna go primary magenta, and we're gonna do tints and shades of primary magenta. Cool.
So row 5.
Row 5. So we're gonna go down to row 5. So or red. All right. All right. So we've got that. And I'm going to get myself a little bit of white going on here. And I'm going to get myself a little bit of black going on here. So throw down your color questions. This is the last row I'm going to do. We're going to talk about, we talked about if you have any questions about color bias and why that's important. If you have a color that you're having a hard time mixing and you need an assist somewhere, throw it down now. All right. So I'm going to take this and I'm going to add just a little bit of white to it. Not a lot. This is definitely Steph World over here. Oh my God, look at this stuff. So pretty. All right. So
I love magenta
in every version of it.
Every shade, tint, and hue.
Every shade.
Desaturated, saturated.
Oh.
I love it.
Right?
Yeah.
I know. I mean, it's not a color that you can really mess up terribly. Isn't that pretty? Look at that. Oh my God. Just makes me want to die. Such a pretty pink. Wouldn't you love your room this color, Ethan?
My daughter did have her room that color. It's not that great when your whole room that color.
No, I don't think so.
No.
I'm gonna take it right down. Actually. I'm gonna tint it right down right now because I've got way too much color in my brush. So I'm trying to get rid of it.
Ronnie Lee's asking if you're using Payne's Gray. No, I think she's using black, Ronnie Lee.
I'm using straight black, Ronnie Lee. Straight black. This is an ivory black.
Ivory black.
So not Payne's Gray. There you go. Look at that.
She might be recognizing that container from the mural.
No, that's but this is an ivory black. So,
so pretty.
All right. So now we're gonna go the other way. All right, and we're gonna pull some out this side, and I'm just going to add the tiniest little bit of black, and we're gonna add just a lovely little shade. We're gonna, oh, look at how pretty this is. Oh, so pretty. This is a lovely, lovely line in here. All right. Okay, and I'm going to add a little more black, and we're going to get this lovely I can't even speak right now. This whole line is you, Steph. Hey?
I'm sorry, I was distracted by Kingston, who's trying to make friends on the other side.
Oh, he's over there making friends. I know. I warned them all that
Everyone's been given the heads up. Kingston's on the prowl.
Kingston's on the prowl. Kingston's out there, and he's unsupervised today.
Nobody minds.
He's like, oh my gosh, this is the best. My mom is busy, and I'm a 5-month-old puppy, and I can just run around. So look at this color now. All right. So I'm going to get this right down.
So beautiful.
It is. I'm going to, without killing the color, because, black is definitely.
It's like a beautiful plum.
I know, isn't it? Yeah. So pretty. So there you go. So there is value to building these things.
I want to make the whole chart right now.
You do? You want to go make the whole chart?
I do.
So I'm just going to add some more so you can see deeper and deeper and deeper it goes, right? And normally what I would do if I was building this and not making it so simple is I would add a little bit and make a line. I would add a little bit, right? Add a little bit more. and then make a line, and then add a little bit more and make a line. And I end up with this whole gradual thing, but there has to be a place where you start. So that is really it. And, if you're having problems like we started out in the very beginning, all right, it's going to be the bias of your color. I happen to be using a Museum Ultramarine Blue, which leans towards the yellow side. So that with this straight CAD did not work very well. So we had too much yellow. But that worked really well with this Museum Primary Magenta, which is a nice cool red. So we could do that. So that worked really well with that. Yellow, again, for those of you who watched last week, for those of you who didn't, primary yellow is never your problem. Never. Very rarely. I shouldn't say never. You're going to have a problem if you're using a CAD red medium. Because a CAD red medium is, guess what color, Steph?
It's quite warm, isn't it?
CAD red medium is actually here. Okay? So if you're looking at, it's that yellow, but it's leaning towards that.
Yeah.
Right? So it's starting to have that in it. So if you've already got that, and then you're mixing an orange, because it's already cool, it's already leaning towards the blue, now your oranges are going to be brown, because now you're mixing all your three primaries together. Because guess what happens when we mix all our primaries together? We get some version of brown, some version of it, depending on how much, one way or the other way.
Can we tell everyone about these museum paints before you sign off for the day? Because they're
actually, you mean, sorry.
The museum paints that you used today.
So today I used a Museum Ultramarine Blue. I used a Museum Primary Magenta, and I used a Museum Primary Yellow. I'm not sure who carries Museum right now. I got them, actually. Lucy brought them in for me from Shadow Boss.
She did carry them as a regular staple item. I'm not sure if she
does she
still
carry
does.
them anymore?
I'm not using acrylics as much anymore. So
yeah. So I'm sorry if I don't know the answer to that, Lucy. But Shadow Box here in Aurelia, Lucy brought these in for me because I use these when I'm teaching to primary students, and because they're colors that that don't have such a terrible bias. They're good colors for some of the workshops that I teach to students. I was also using a titanium white, happens to be a golden color, and I happen to have Liquitex. I am an equal opportunity brand today. We are doing equal opportunity brands. So continue making your hue and saturation chart. So now you can actually, once you do this, you have your 12 colors, you desaturate them. You can then build your tint and shade for each of them. You can print this page off as many times as you like. We do have this as a kit, by the way, on our About to Create ABT2 CRE8.shop. There is a color theory kit on there, and it comes with a strip of all the museum paints plus black plus white plus a brush, and it comes with these printouts on a acid-free multimedia paper, which I happen to be using right now. This is a paper is this?
Is that Fabriano?
That's the Fabriano multimedia paper. When I like to build my color charts on these and my color wheels, especially when I'm starting to do more complex things. You don't have to use the ones in there. You can use them as a guide, draw them yourself. I like to build them on the multimedia acid-free paper because then I can have them hanging out in my studio. So when I'm painting, water, for example, there's and I'm trying to get the right shade of water. I do a lot of water stuff. water has a lot of greens under it. Water has a lot of, and so I'm always wondering, if I'm trying to figure out am I trying to get to a shade of blue? Am I trying to get to a tint of blue? Or is it really what I'm trying to achieve is a desaturated color of one of these colors that I already have? So, they're really helpful as you go through and you explore color and painting. But so that's all I have for you today. I'm going to say stay tuned. Next week, we decided in our last live stream that we're going to do a ink unboxing with Yupo paper, which neither Steph or I have actually broken out or used yet. So I think we're going to play around with that. Next week, I'm also going to be doing another free workshop on, I don't know, actually, if you have something you want me to teach you, you know what, now's your chance to say so, because maybe I'll just do it. Okay, so, and also tomorrow night we have live, tomorrow night we have paint night. Steph is doing a paint night, $10 paint night, and next week we have a paint throwdown. And hello, Mr. Kingston. Okay, so here we go.
Let's say hi.
Oh, Kingston is here. He says, "Oh, I'm not. My mom's getting me full of paint." So this is Kingston. Hi, buddy. How you doing? Okay. And I'm going to say thanks for tuning in. We love that you show up. We hope you enjoyed it, and we'll see you next time. All right.